All right, welcome back to our DIY dog training. We're in part 5 today. We've got Aries down here at our training pond set up to do a little watermark for him. And so today I wanted to talk a little bit about the setup for this because there's a lot of stuff happening here, and I want to show you how it's going to look. So the idea is we've got our mat, the same old mat we've been using the whole time to help give us a spot as our starting and ending point for the retrieve. We have obviously we have the water set up right here behind us. I have my gunner is over here on the far side of the pond, going to be launching a duck with a winger into the middle of the pond. Now, there's a lot of stuff happening here. First, you might notice that there's several decoys right here in front of the pond, right? So when we're thinking about doing watermarks, whether you're thinking about prepping for a hunt test or whether you're preparing for an actual hunt, you're probably going to be hunting over decoys. So you want to make sure that your dog has lots of experience with decoys and retrieving with decoys in the water. You want to try to eliminate that when you have an actual test or an actual hunt. You don't want your dog picking up decoys. You want him picking up the real ducks. So we leave decoys in the water, and today I kind of reposition them so that the decoys are right here in front of us. So he's got a great look at them. He can't miss them. So he knows there's those decoys there. Now, Aries, of course, has been in the water several times before. We talked about doing water introduction when he was a puppy. We did some water during force fetch. So he has had some experience with water. Now, today the difference is we're going to be doing an actual duck out of a winger that is launched from the far side of the pond. Now, in this particular mark, it's going to be what we call splash birds. Splash birds are considered the easiest or the beginning level of retrieving in the water, right? The idea is that if the duck splashes in the pond, that makes a very obvious disturbance so that the dog sees exactly where it lands and he knows where to go, right? Now, later on, we'll work on adding more advanced concepts to teaching him how to do watermarks. But today is going to be a splash bird because we're really kind of finalizing those mechanics and getting him to retrieve nicely in water. And I'm going to expect a nice polished delivery to hand out of Aries. If he doesn't, we'll need to be able to correct him. Now, the duck should come out in the middle of these trees over here when it hits the water. Now, it's also important that when you're thinking about setting up for a hunt or setting up for a test, usually you're not going to hunt in just a bare cattle pond. I mean, there's usually stuff in it, vegetation, trees, lily pads, something. There's usually something in there. Waterfowl tend to be attracted to cover, right? So this pond is actually kind of set up that way on purpose with a lot of material, a lot of junk left in the pond. We actually shoot quite a few puddle ducks out of this pond every year, and it's a great little setup here to give them this mark. Now, the other thing is this mark is short. It's going to be maybe 40 yards of swimming. It is not a long swim, but this is swimming water. So we do want to have swimming depth so that he does get a nice chance to be in deep swimming water and then come out of that swimming water and deliver it to hand. So this is where we've really put a lot of mechanics together to prepare for this. So let's see how we do here. Oh, and I should also mention that we're going to be doing this mark sort of AKC style, which means I'm going to raise my hand to signal that I'm ready. Then the duck call and the gunfire will be coming out in the field associated with the mark. So I will only be here to recall, and I am not going to be talking to the dog after I tell him to do the initial sit to sit down. All right, Aries, here. I think Aries is pumped up and ready to go. Heel, heel, good, good. Okay, we're going to get him straightened up here. Good. All right, sit. Aries. Now, a couple of other things that we're looking at here. One, I want that duck to land out by those stumps because that way it's not completely obvious. It's not just a belly up duck floating in the water. He's got to go decide what thing out there is the duck. Good boy, which he did right away. Here. Good. Now, there's lots of other things that I've got going on here with this watermark. Here. Here. First off, we want him to take a straight path into the water. We don't want him to run around the bank. We want to go straight in. So I've set up my mat right by the water. Here, heel, sit. Yeah, good dog. So I set up the mat right here by the edge of the water so that Aries immediately was going to jump straight in. Also, we set up this mark so his path is obvious straight in here. We've got a little stump and we've got some decoys out here. So I'm trying to give him a path, right? So we want him to teach him go in there, right? Then the other thing that we do, no, leave it. The other thing that we do is as soon as he got that duck in his mouth, I was on the whistle to start calling him in. We've started to apply the whistle now for recall. And what I want him to do, as soon as he gets that duck, I want him to turn around and look at me and swim straight back to me. We want to encourage this swim straight back. Don't swim to the far bank. Don't swim to the short side. Come swim all the way back to me. This will pay big dividends later when we start doing advanced training with swim by, de-cheating, etc. Right, so this is really good. This is what I'm looking for. And what I'm really excited about with Aries is his behavior at this exact moment. Right now, here I am talking to the camera, and he couldn't care less about what I'm doing. He's sitting in here waiting for the next mark. That's what we should see. We should see a dog who wants to work, a dog who's excited about it, a dog who's confident about the water. This is what we're looking for. One final thing that I'll leave you with here is when your dog is doing this, you really need to think about how your dog enters the water. No, no bird. If you have a dog that eases into the water, that's fine. Don't think that that's a bad thing, right? Aries has got a pretty big jump, right? So this actually worries me. Okay, the big exciting leap into the water. It's cool. It looks pretty, but it's very dangerous, right? So we have to be sure when you are setting up these marks and you've got real ducks and you've got gunfire and you've got a young dog that's fired up and ready to go. We don't want to see that young dog jump in the water, expose their belly, and hurt themselves. So remember to play it safe with that and be aware of what is in the water in front of you. But if you set him all up this way, he'll run you a nice watermark.